welcome to the show, superstar musical theater legend Fred Johanson.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh my
Victoria.
God, that voice. It's
Wow.
this is the reason you get to play all those like scary people, I suppose. Not only scary people, but very like authoritative people.
Yes, I guess they tend to call them the bad guys.
The bad guys.
The bad guys, yeah, the baddies.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Not only though, because
not only, but normally when someone is 6'4" with a kind of bass baritone voice.
Yeah.
I don't know if the lack of hair has anything to do with it, but
did you never have hair, or it's like?
I know. Well, in the very beginning of my career, actually,
you did have hair.
Of my life, yes, I was born with hair.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Yes,
excellent information.
So, but it was actually for one of the parts I was playing in London, Frollo in Notre Dame de Paris, that I shaved my hair.
Oh, okay.
Because I had very long kind of shoulder length curly hair.
Really? We need to find pictures of this. I will Google.
I'm not sure you need to do that.
I will find it.
You know, I can maybe I can even send you one if you need one.
I think everyone would love to see it, actually. So yes, please.
Yes. Okay. No, it was a good period, and I think the combination of getting a bit older and the hair thinning a little bit made me decide to cut it off.
Timing, so to speak.
It was good timing, yeah, to get that part, because it gave me a reason to do the drastic thing.
Fantastic.
And since then, I've never gone back.
Okay. So how did you get into singing from the beginning? Because I'm just assuming, hearing that you had long hair, that maybe you started out as a rock singer or in a rock band or something like that.
That is absolutely correct.
I'm so sorry.
That's absolutely correct. I didn't start singing until I was quite, well, I guess in musicians' terms, older. So I found my voice kind of when I was 15, 16. And it was exactly that. I joined a rock band, played the bass for a bit. And then I kind of went over to singing. So, and I did that for quite a few years. It was the best kind of pastime hobby one could have, I guess, because during that period when I started in the rock band, I was studying to become a building engineer.
Oh,
yes, and still have lots of use for those skills. For example, the studio I'm sitting in, I built it.
Yes, it looks super professional.
Oh.
I was just saying before we started, you have like a lot of stuff in there.
I'm a bit of a hoarder.
Okay.
I hoard things that make noise.
Well, everyone needs something to do, I suppose.
Yes, very true.
I'm one of those people who like to throw things away because
Really?
Because I don't like...
Do you want to move in with me?
Are you proposing? No. No, but I like to be clutter-free. So I have a tendency to just get rid of stuff that I don't need and try to keep it to like a minimum.
That's a very, very good quality to have, I think.
Depends what you depends what you like, I suppose. But yeah, my ex-husband was also somewhat of a hoarder, and now I'm divorced. So yay!
There you go.
There you go. Things happen.
There's a solution for everything.
I know. Fantastic.
So he became part of the clutter.
Yes, and so now I'm clutter-free.
Clutter-free.
Did you like, what kind of education do you have, or do you have any, or did you just like start in a rock band?
You're talking about musical theater, or
I'm not talking about cleaning now. Let's get back to the music.
As I said, my kind of official what I studied in the school I went to towards the end before I started professionally with music was a technical college where I became a building engineer. Before then, I went to the Swedish music school, Alfredik School.
Really? I went there too.
Did you?
I did.
How could we have missed each other?
I don't know. I'm so much younger than you. I'm kidding.
Must be. It must
No,
be that. It must be that. Yes.
I don't know. Which year were you in? Like any of the other people I might have known?
Well, obviously. So I started in 79. And then I was there for five years. Yeah.
No,
I mean,
no, I'm kidding. No, absolutely not. Because I was born in 76. Because I'm like, no, that's not possible.
It's
no,
not possible.
I'm like, wait a second. When did I start? And I was, yeah, no. So obviously,
I did
no.
miss you completely then. Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, I went there as well. So
Yeah.
yay, Adolf Erik buddies.
Yes, I mean it was a great school, and obviously that's the people I then formed the band with and started rehearsing at Fryshuset.
Yeah.
So I did that for a bit, finished my kind of college degree, and just realized that I wanted to do more singing.
Yeah.
And did so by going down to Cyprus and working there for 6 months at one of those Hotel 33.
Oh, wow.
As part of the house band and the kind of lead singer there.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I kind of decided, right, this is what I want to do. I want to write music, and I want to be a singer.
Yeah.
So I have no formal kind of musical education, if that's kind of what you asked in the beginning. Yeah. So where I trained is
it's just interesting to me, because then I read that you did Wallmans for a while, which if we're going to explain that to people who are not Swedish, it's like a restaurant where the waiters and waitresses also perform.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember when they actually were hiring people, they were looking for actors or singers and performers, and then when you got there, they trained you as a waiter.
Right.
So the focus was kind of on getting good performers and singers.
Right.
And that was a fantastic place, because I was there from the very beginning when it started.
Oh, wow.
And I think I did 9 months or something of that. But it was great, because it kind of, first of all, you got to sing every day, every evening, and also you kind of lost your kind of stage fright, if you had any. There was no time to get nervous.
Right.
Because you were kind of throwing out drinks and food to people, then you had to run up on stage, sing whatever song, and then back again. So it was a great, actually, training ground to just get rid of that. And then from that, also the owner of Wallmans also owned the China Theatre next door. Mm-hmm. So when they were auditioning for Fame, all of us who worked there went to the audition naturally, because we knew about it, and he insisted on us going there because he kind of wanted that transition from Wallmans to the stage.
Right.
So that was my first musical theatre job. I got to play a part in Fame, Shlomo Metzenbaum, the kind of composer, keyboard player.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
because I was just gonna ask, like, how that already answered my question, but like, how did you get into musical theater? Because I'm assuming that wasn't, for a lot of musical theater performers, it has been, like a dream from when they started singing, or but this feels like it was more like just an opportunity that came up and you grabbed it and then it happened.
Yeah, because I mean, my main focus was to become a pop star.
Oh, okay.
So musical theater wasn't really in my radar, on my radar, or in my frame of mind. It was because I was writing songs all through the time I was in college, and also during Wallmans I was writing songs for for my album or albums.
Did you ever release an album?
Yes, actually, and it was
Really?
when I was working at Valmans. A guy came in who was an A&R at BMG
Oh wow.
and saw me sing and heard me sing, and he thought it was good, and we had a meeting, and he signed me. So I released 2 albums in Sweden.
Okay.
And there was one album was in 1994 and one was in 1998.
Okay. Can we find this on Spotify?
Oh yes, just
Fantastic. I will
yeah.
put all the links in the description of the video. So if you want to go
and it was when I had long hair. So the first album is kind of I like both of them, and but they kind of it was a development phase, so it might not have represented all of me, but it was a part of me that really.
Well, I mean, I feel like I talk about this a lot because in a career you do a lot of different things. And I mean, I've released albums. I released an album in Swedish. I've released several in English, some which I feel might not represent me at all anymore, but it's there because it's part of, you know, your history and what
your journey. Yeah.
Right.
Your journey.
And just, you know, being a creative person, you know, I had a period of time when I ended up winning a big like music prize in the United States, in Los Angeles, for a song. Wow. And then I got a manager and people interested, and you sort of get caught up in that, and they wanted me to take another direction. And so for a while we were trying to do sort of like easy listening country pop music. And it was fun, and I did it for, you know, a few years and was trying it out. And then, you know, as I sat down one day, I just felt like, well, this isn't really what I want to do. This isn't me. And so I decided to, you know, split from that contract and from that collaboration, and then just go back to do more musical theater and like classical crossover, which I guess is more my type of music because I'm classically trained from the beginning. But it's, and you know, for a while I was like, oh, it's really embarrassing that this music is still out there and people can find it. But you know what? I tried something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, no, exactly. Exactly. It's and I think then you weren't as aware of that exposure, because then you released an album or a CD, you might have appeared in a few TV shows.
Right.
But now, as soon as you release something now, everything is online forever.
Forever and ever.
Forever and ever.
Exactly.
And of course they, you know, people.
But when people find stuff like, because my father was in the music industry. He used to be the marketing director of CBS Music before it became Sony Music and then Sony BMG. When he left Sony and started his own like record company, it was like they mainly made like compilation records and stuff like that. I got to sing on a lot of albums, you know, just a couple songs here and there, you know, like Swedish summer songs or Christmas songs or whatever. And I was like 15, 16 when I did it. And it's now on Spotify, and people, you know, and it's not super good, but you know what?
But at the time, it seemed like a good idea.
Exactly. And now it's there forever.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah.
Well, that's actually, you know, I'm sure you were, as I always try to be, but it is kind of a good good thing to be aware of, that whatever you do and whatever you're part of, to always try and be your best.
Right.
I think that's because there's no. I guess that's kind of my mindset, that any project I get into or get involved with, I always try to be at the top of the game for my own standards and stuff. I want to really place them as, it doesn't matter what, if it's a, you know, a small concert or a big, you know, arena tour, or if it's a production in a small city in Sweden, or if it's a huge, if it's on Broadway or wherever it is. I think one should always make sure that it's as if your life's at stake, and it needs to be the best possible
well,
thing to do.
especially now, since, as you said, everything, I mean, you can't hide anything anymore
Yeah.
because
No.
there's always someone filming it or
Yep.
taping it, or you're like, oh dear.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I also try to tell the younger, I would say, especially the younger musical theater people who are just starting out, especially when it comes to putting things online, such as record a video of yourself singing something, or to not be afraid to put things out there. Because what I find is, now as I'm producing more, one of the first things that I will do if I'm looking for someone for a show is that I will either Google or try to search people on YouTube, because having auditions is a very time consuming and costly thing to do.
For sure.
So, I mean, a lot of, I mean, you will want to have an audition probably in the end, but you can sort of sort out a lot of the,
as a first stage. You can.
A lot of people don't have a single video on YouTube, or don't have a single website or social media or anything, and then I just move on because I don't have time. So I would at least encourage, I mean, it's different with people my age or your age who have already done a billion things, but if you're just starting out, it is a good idea to have at least a few videos that you're happy with, obviously, but that you put out there. And then, if you put it on your own channel or whatever, you can always take it down and, upload something better eventually.
Update it or whatever.
But to just have something is a good idea, I think.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And today as well, it's so easy to record something that actually sounds half decent and looks half decent. So
right, exactly.
It's well worth. And I mean, my experience now, especially now since COVID-19, is everybody just wants self-tapes.
Yeah. And I think that's gonna, even after COVID, now when people have learned how that works from a production company standpoint, I think they're going to use it a lot because it's so much more cost effective.
Yeah.
And not only for the producer, but also for the artists, because you don't have to travel all the way and, sing one song and not get called back, it's.
No, and it's exactly what you said as well, that at the final stages of casting, you might want to hear them live and meet them in person and all that. Because that's what I find also a bit frustrating with the self-tapes, is that there's just a completely different vibe when you walk into an audition room. You have the creative team there, and they get a different.
But I suppose that's the frustration in general right now, that we're not allowed to perform live, because that's where the energy in the room happens.
Exactly.
You can't recreate that in a digital performance or I mean, it's nice that people are trying to do something, but I mean, the magic happens when it's live, and that's why as soon as it's possible, everyone's going to go back to live, not only us artists, but the audience, because that's where it happens.
Yeah, you do. I mean, you sit in front of a screen all day, usually at work or in front of your television and stuff. So it's just as much as changing your environment and going out to see other people and to hear other people's reactions and to experience, as you say, a live performance that is impossible to replace. I'm sorry, it's I can't see it there ever being anything that that can replace that.
No.
I don't know. Because
So,
I know I work with a lot of people who, at the moment, who are doing like streaming services, and they go in and they film and stream a show. They have 5, 6 cameras. I know they've done it over in Sweden as well with at the Malmö Opera House and Gothenburg, and you can pay for tickets and stuff. But it's still not the same. You
no,
can't. No, you
no,
can't.
it's not. And I mean,
So
I think it's fantastic that, you know, they're trying, we're all trying,
yeah, well, we have to.
we have to, but it's not going to replace the real thing,
No.
and it's all gonna come back. The
Yeah.
question is when and how.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I mean, I know a lot of us are just sort of like racehorses waiting in that, you know, starting cage,
Starting
like,
position. Yeah.
yeah, just like just waiting for the gates to open, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so after Fame, did you feel like musical theater was something like you really wanted to do, or because obviously you kept doing it?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess something really happened there, because it was, you know, as I explained before, I've never taken an acting class in my life, and singing lessons I did take with an opera singer, which might explain why I sound classical in some of my performances.
Well, and you also went to Adolf Fredrik, so
This is true. This is true. But I think what I learned singing wise, I think mostly that was working with this amazing bass opera singer. And I was actually, it's very interesting, because I lost my voice when I was squealing in a rehearsal room at Three Susan with a rock band. So I went to the doctors, and they gave me what's it called in English? In Sweden, it's a remiss, isn't it? Yeah, they sent me to the specialist, who was a specialist in both speech, doctor. So, but instead of taking speech lessons, we did 15 vocal sessions instead, which kind of changed my whole life in terms of how to sing and how to be able to sing for 8 shows a week or whatever.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Without losing my voice. So, and I guess thanks to that, doing musicals worked. And I guess halfway through Fame as well, I realized that I really like this medium of acting and singing and performing, and also the fact that you could go into different characters.
Right.
So after that, I went straight to the Oscars Theatre to do Cyrano de Bergerac. Yes, which was also a lot of fun. And then during that period, they put up posters for auditions for Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yay!
In London. Yeah. And this was 1995, 94, 95, yeah. So that's, but that was a big turning point, I think, when those auditions for London's West End and that production for Jesus Christ Superstar came up.
Yeah.
Because I really went for that, and having long curly hair, I obviously went for the part of Jesus.
Right.
And a fantastic actor at Cyrano, Lars-Erik Burnett, he coached me a bit through that to get some substance to the part, and it was very interesting, that process of how to work your way through a lyric.
Yeah.
Because Gethsemane and that song in particular, if whoever's watching who might know of it, is Jesus singing and pleading and arguing with God,
right?
And the different stages on how to make that interesting. It was very, very interesting to work with a proper stage actor who done so experienced to go through that. So yeah, that was my audition piece, Gethsemane.
Yeah, and what happened?
What happened? Well, what happened was that I must have done something right, because a few weeks later, they flew me over to London to see the director and to audition for her, and working on that particular piece for half an hour or something, which was again an eye-opener, because I've never worked with anyone like that on a track. The two musicals I'd done in Sweden, well, Fame and Cyrano, there was no, well, I was obviously also in the ensemble, so I wasn't playing a lead, but to come in and work with a director like that was very inspiring.
Right.
And also someone, the director who did that, same director who directed the film that I'm in, Gail Edwards. She'd done a lot of Royal Shakespeare Company directing and stuff. So again, she had a very different approach. It wasn't just about singing beautifully and sounding amazing, but she focused more on the acting and how to portray the emotions that the character goes through.
Right.
So, and she told us that actually when I then carried on to work in the West End in the show, that she didn't care about the singing.
Right.
She understood that it was a necessary thing to be able to do, but she wanted actors basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I guess one thing led to another. I didn't get the part of Jesus for some reason, but I got offered to work in the ensemble for a year.
Right. So that was your first West End show?
Yes.
That's really cool. Because for the people watching this who don't know, I mean, you have done so much of Jesus Christ Superstar. We're going to talk about that more, but you're also going to be Pilate in my production of Jesus Christ Superstar whenever we get to play this show. And I'm so excited.
Yes.
It's kind of fun because we've talked on the phone, but we've never like seen each other and talked like this. So this is our first like Zoom meeting or meeting face to face, so that's fun. No, I'm super
great.
excited to have you. So
yes, that is. I'm thoroughly looking forward to this. I was absolutely gutted when it was.
Yeah, we all were.
God, what a frustration! But that's
But whenever we get to play, it's gonna be amazing. So
it will be. It will be. It will
yes.
Be. No, that was because that part, Pontius Pilate, was something I don't know how much time we have or whatever I could talk about.
Go on, we can talk for another hour.
But that was.
But we have more shows to talk about.
Yeah. No, but quickly then. I mean, since it was my first show in the West End and stuff, what I did was I kind of studied and people on stage who obviously had been in the West End for longer than me and played lots of parts. And the Judas and the Pontius Pilate, they were absolutely exceptional. And again, the Judas was an RSC actor, Royal Shakespeare Company, and so was the Pilate. But he just great performers. So during that year, I managed to become cover for Pontius Pilate. And I had long chats with the actor who was playing it at the time. And sooner or later, he obviously became ill. And I got to go on.
Yeah.
And that was very, very exciting. And I must have done something right, because then they asked me back to play the actual part.
Right.
And also to portray him in the film that came out later. Yeah. But it's that journey, that first year in the West End was really a life and a game changer for me. Just lots of things just all of a sudden fell into place and clicked.
Yeah.
And also in terms of how much work you need to put into something in order for it to be good, I guess, or to be something that you want to or that will be perceived as good by directors and musical directors and audiences.
Yeah, and I think
So,
that's one of the things that is really important to emphasize as well,
mm,
the amount of work that goes into what we do, because
yes,
I think a lot of the what's portrayed in media, I mean, we don't have a lot of musical theater competitions in media, but all the
mm,
other like singing competitions, etc., they
mm,
are enforcing this um, view of like anyone can suddenly become, you know, a
mm,
superstar or a pop star or whatever. But
yeah,
what you need to remember is that this is a profession. You
mm-hmm,
have, like what you said before, you can't sing 8 shows a week or play 8 shows a week if you don't know how to use your instrument,
yeah,
your voice, for example. um, it takes training, it takes a lot of work to do what we do. I mean, I've
yeah,
seen not only in Sweden but all over the place, where they take someone who might have um, been a runner up in
yeah,
you know, Idol or The Voice or whatever, and put them in a
mm,
musical just to sell
mm,
tickets. But most of the time that doesn't work for very long because they don't have the technique or, you know,
yeah,
the
the
training to
stamina,
do
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. It's a very I guess it's always been like that, though. I'm sure if we go
Hmm.
back 20, 30, 50 years, they'll put people in who have a name to get bums on seats, as they call them,
Right.
get
But then
audiences in.
usually they have a very good understudy or cover
Yes,
that will come in and,
yes,
and do it
indeed,
when they can't sing anymore. So,
indeed,
yeah.
indeed.
So, one of the things that I find really interesting with you is that you have kept working all over the place. A
Mm,
lot of people, like, they choose a market and they stay there. Like, if you get into the West End, you stay in London and that's mainly where you do your work.
mm,
Or like, I have colleagues and like old school friends who went to Germany and they're still
hmm,
in Germany, you know, 15 years later.
yeah,
But you've been going back and forth both to Sweden, and you've been in England, obviously, but you've also been over to Broadway. Did you
hmm,
ever work in Germany? You worked in
yeah,
Denmark, I think. Yeah, so you've been all over the place.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's. I think our business is a bit like that, and for me, it's been like that anyway. It's whenever an interesting enough job comes up,
Hmm.
um, it doesn't really matter where it is.
Right.
Um, I think because there's a couple of things you need to look at when you say yes to work,
Hmm.
and I think well those three uh, are, I guess. Firstly, will it be a fun job? Is it
Right.
something that I can learn something from?
Hmm.
Um, and will it help me in my development as an artist?
Hmm.
Also, is it a new role? Is it something that will be a challenge that will be out of my comfort zone?
Hmm.
And if that's one of the things, then that's a good thing to tick.
Yeah.
Second is, I guess, will it put me in contact with people that I haven't worked with before?
Hmm.
Will it be a new director, a new environment, and as you said, a new country,
Hmm.
and maybe a different language?
Yeah.
Um, Again, it's just adding things to your skill set.
Right.
Um, and then, of course, there's also the money issue. Is it good money, or is it bad money, or is it um, absolutely necessary? Can you afford to turn it down or not?
Right. Right.
So I kind of like to think that if two out of those three
Yeah.
is there in the job, I usually go for it. So if
Right.
it's if it's a challenge, and if you're meeting new people, maybe the money isn't that great, but it's still worth doing it.
Right.
If it's fantastic money, but you worked maybe with a director before, or maybe it's a show you've done before, still, you know, you will always
Right.
meet
Right.
someone new. You will always make new contacts, and out of it, I don't think I've done a single job where where I can say, oh my God, that was absolutely and utterly pointless. I so regret doing that. I don't. I think every single job I've done, I've really loved and enjoyed. And sometimes it's just, you know, well, I don't want to play that part again.
Well, then at least you learned that.
I've learned something, yes.
Right.
Yeah, so it's
the blacklist of people you don't want to work with again, or, you know, like.
Yes. No, but that's all part of it, you know. And but it's
yeah, but that's interesting as well, because I
yeah.
know I did Christine in Phantom of the Opera in Denmark.
Yeah.
And it's the same creative team that like works all over the world with that production. And they told me that a lot of people who get into Phantom of the Opera very specifically stay in Phantom like their entire career and just move around in different parts. Like you might have started out like a Christine, and then you know, 10 years later they're a Carlotta, or you know, so I mean, you can make a career out of one single part or one show as well. You know, people do that, but I feel like a lot of people are scared to leave a comfort zone. Say like you're into the West End community and the West End, and suddenly, you know, to go away for a year, and do something in Sweden or Germany. I mean,
yeah, I guess if you're in the West End and you live in London and you've got a few parts that you want to play, you can actually stay in the West End and do that.
Right.
But I think a lot of people also do, which I guess is natural. If you're in a show, once a year there's auditions for all the other shows. You go to those, and if you get a part, great. If you don't, you stay because it pays the bills.
Right.
So, you know, it's I know when I did Aladdin, I don't know, it's not that recently, but still in the West End. There was a lot of people like that. You know, I was in there for the first 6 months, and then I came back and did a year and 3 months at the very end of it. But there were obviously people who had been there from the first.
How long did it run?
It ran for just over 3 years.
Right. Yeah.
Which was a good run, and it could have kept going. It was a weird one, and that's also stuff that we as actors might not know about or understand, because we had sold out houses, but I think the producer, Cameron McIntosh, wanted to have Mary Poppins in there.
Oh, okay.
In that specific or particular theater, because it's such a good theater in the middle of Soho.
I see. And I've also heard, I don't know if this applies to Aladdin specifically, but that Disney also have their own ideas of like shows not running forever and ever. They might want to like do something differently.
I guess apart from The Lion King.
Exactly. That's been running forever. But it's a really, really good show though.
Yeah, it's very different.
Have you been in Lion King? You should be in Lion King. I know you're the Swedish voice for Scar.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah.
No, I would love to be in Lion King. I know I just when it was how long ago? When did it open in the West End?
I don't know.
15, 16 years ago, maybe more. I know. No, The Lion King was going in when I finished Superstar, so that was in 96, 97. So it's obviously a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
But I did audition for both Mufasa and for Scar.
Yeah.
I think what works against me is that I'm a little bit too fair-skinned for Mufasa.
Yeah, well, yes, that could be a problem.
And I'm also a little bit too tall or too big for Scar, since Mufasa is supposed to be the stronger lion.
There must be like a huge black dude that can do Mufasa, and you can come in and do it.
Maybe.
We'll see. It's
I don't
really
know.
Cool
This is just my theory, or I'm just crap.
I doubt the crap part, but yeah.
No, but it's it will be fun to do it. It's an amazing show. And
yeah, I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen it, like 4 or 5 times in different. Like I've seen it in Germany, in London, on Broadway. And there's just something about that show that is really, it still feels fresh somehow.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
mean, they really nailed it. And Julie Taymor, the director there, which I had the honor to meet in my first time when I was auditioning for it, she really nailed it with the masks and the
it's
direction.
fantastic. And you know, like the opening, it
Oh my
gets me
God,
every time. I could go
every
and
time.
pay the money just to see the opening.
Yeah, it's
It's
sensational.
magical. So
It really is, and it's such good music and such a
yeah,
good
it's
story.
beautiful. Yeah.
So
So anyway, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that
yes,
you
me too. Me
get to
too.
do
At some
it
point.
at some point. Exactly.
Like when I'm walking around with a Zimmer frame, I'll do that. Hello.
No, stop. No.
Anyway.
But one of my biggest musical theater experiences of my entire life was seeing the production of Sunset Boulevard on Broadway, where you played Max opposite of Glenn Close.
Yes.
I've seen a lot of shows because that's my job, and you know, like this is what we do. We watch everything. But I can hardly breathe talking about that production because it was so magical. I remember her. You probably remember this show. We didn't know each other then, but it was a show where she interrupted the show. In
was it that one when someone was taking pictures?
Yeah.
So
I was in there and I was like in the middle on the third row. Like I felt like I could touch her, you know.
Yeah.
And when she stopped the show, I stopped breathing because I was like, I didn't do anything. Like, I was so scared.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me. But the person was not even close to me. But I was like, if I was that person, I would want to die now.
Yeah.
But come to the second act when she does As If We Never Said Goodbye.
Oh, yes.
You know, I didn't breathe for 5 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
I felt like I got tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And like tears were streaming down my face without making a sound because I was so entranced by this woman doing that. So, I mean, it's one of the most amazing experiences of my life watching that show. And you were brilliant. I mean, the whole cast was brilliant. And the way they had, like the whole set with the full orchestra on visible on stage. And Kristen Blodgett, I worked with her on Phantom. That was amazing as well. But it was just like, can you please just talk about this show with me? Because it was
we have another hour.
No, but I loved it so much because I did see the original production way back in London, which was also amazing with the great sets, and it's a beautiful show. But
it was more about the set. The set was kind of the star of the show, I heard.
Right.
Yeah.
Although I mean, I saw, what's her name?
Petula Clark, did she play?
No. Oh God. I'll come up with
and not Elaine Page. No.
Not Elaine. No. She's American. She hates Trump. What's her name? She's made a point.
Who doesn't hate Trump?
I know, but she's made a point of telling everyone on the red carpet and so on and so forth. It was fantastic, but this was something different because this really focused on the core of the story.
Yeah.
And it was so beautifully done, like the young Norma in the blue light, like when that was amazing. It was so beautiful, and like
it was a really cool addition.
Wow.
That was genius of director Lonnie Price,
right?
Who and Matt Coward, his co-director as well. They were amazing guys to work with, and they were so chilled and one of the best directors.
Amazing things like the car chase.
Yeah,
like
that too.
How you like come up with an idea like that.
Yeah.
So basically it's a dark stage and someone is just running, I suppose,
With two
with like
headlights,
two
yeah.
headlights. And it was like, it was amazing. The whole thing was amazing. So
Brilliant. I wish I could have seen it from the auditorium. Obviously,
yeah.
during rehearsals, we could have done it. But what you explain on being an audience member and watching Glenn do that
Oh,
particular song,
did you die every night watching her?
it was the same every night.
Yeah.
For us, and sharing the stage and acting opposite her, and when we had our little moments as well.
Yeah.
It was exactly that. You kind of just disappeared. Everything around you disappeared, and you became sucked into the story, and particularly to Glenn, who was such a. I mean, her focus and her charisma and her intensity was just mind-blowing, and you couldn't be
Yeah.
anywhere else. You
No.
might at the beginning of the show, when you go to the theater after 4 or 5 months, think, okay, here we go again. But as soon as she walks on stage, you're just submerged in this story, and you become the character you're playing, and feed off each other in a way that I've never experienced before. Actually, it's
No,
sensational.
and from the audience point of view, you could tell that
Mm,
even like the whole ensemble
mm.
probably had the same tunnel vision as we
Yeah.
the audience did, like watching her do that. And
Mm.
again, it's not about the quality of the singing, because obviously she's getting older, but just the 100%
The commitment, yeah.
commitment to the role and what she
Yeah.
was doing. I mean, it was extraordinary to watch.
Mm. Yeah. And it was every night for us as well to
Mm.
be there and be part of it. And it just makes you want to be better
Yeah.
every night, and want you to it made me want to raise to her, well, as close to her level as possible,
Yeah.
in terms of that. And it was amazing learning curve, and
Yeah, because you were
just a
playing
fantastic.
in
Sorry.
London first.
Yeah, and that was you know that first time around, if
Yeah.
you want to call it that, was I guess even more amazing because it was so different. And
Right.
that's kind of where they, because of the National Opera Orchestra, and
Mm.
the English National Opera, yeah, and performing in that auditorium at the Colosseum, and because they had the orchestra already embedded in the whole production,
Mm.
it was financially possible to have the whole orchestra on stage, or
Right.
have a full orchestra. I think we had 45-piece orchestra in London.
Mm.
And then obviously when it came to London, it was when it came to Broadway, it was a completely different thing, because orchestras on Broadway, they're never that big. They
Right.
can't be, because financially it's impossible.
Mm. Mm.
But they managed to get a 40-piece orchestra, which was the first time since the 50s that they've had that on Broadway, which
Yeah.
um,
Like
in
I'm
itself.
getting chills just talking
Yes,
about the
yes, I know,
show.
me
It's
too.
crazy. But the music is so beautiful
Yeah.
also. Like, just the opening of the show, like, I don't know, it was so
Mm.
good. I just want to see it again and
And I
again.
know, and it just with that big an orchestra, all of a sudden it turns the music into almost an actor as well. It
Right,
becomes
right.
such a big part of the show. And funnily enough, I did this show in Gothenburg at the Gothenburg Opera House
Yeah.
back in 2009 or 2007,
Hmm.
and that's when they had to rearrange the music for a bigger orchestra.
Oh,
So they used a lot of that in the West End and on the Broadway production.
wow.
Yeah, and we also got the car from Gothenburg to the West End, and everybody
Okay.
was complaining about the car because it was so crap.
Oh
You never
no.
wanted to drive, and never wanted to start, or whatever it was. But
Oh, that's sad. But I've heard that you've actually become friends with Glenn Close.
well, yes,
Yeah.
we
But how inspiring, though. I mean, I mean, I suppose a private relationship is something different, but it's still, I mean, I suppose she would be like a mentor person.
Yeah, I mean, what she did, and I think which is, I mean, amazing, because we didn't know what to expect, obviously, when we first started working together in London, um, and um, and she was just so generous with herself, her private, life, or because you would think that, okay, here comes someone who's a mega Hollywood celebrity who will just come in, do a rehearsal, and then retire to her hotel room or whatever. But she kind of knew and understood what needed to happen, which was that the four kind of core people in the show, which is Joe Gillis and Norma Desmond, and then Betty and Max, we all needed to be a very solid team.
Right.
And in order to become a solid team, we need to know each other really well.
Right.
So we spent a lot of time together on and off stage, I guess, just doing that, becoming friends.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, after that period, we were like, oh, it was so sad to have to split up and not see each other again, etc.
Yeah.
So when the opportunity came for it to go to Broadway, she insisted on us coming there.
That's really nice.
That is amazing, because she said, I don't want to do it without them.
Yeah. Is that the first time you've been on Broadway?
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you feel like there was any difference being on Broadway versus the West End, or it's still sort of?
Yeah. There was. It was kind of difficult to separate them in the beginning, but after 6 months on Broadway, you started to get the idea of what was different. So I don't know if there's a difference in quality. There might be a difference in attitude. I think that West End is definitely more European, and British people are more kind of.
They wear more tweed. No, I'm kidding.
No, but they're a bit more relaxed and a bit more. Sorry, they like to go to the pub after the show. There's a lot of interaction and stuff. They kind of become a very tight family in the West End, and even on the spare time, they didn't want to see each other as much as possible. And I think in terms of the approach to, I think British people, I don't know if it's because of the Shakespeare heritage or whatever, they are usually, I can't really say that, but they are. I don't know if I can say that the acting is better, but worldwide, I think people from Broadway like to come to the West End because they find the acting more or deeper or more profound or whatever, because of that's in musical theatre schools, and everything is very focused on the acting. Whereas on Broadway, you've got the kind of sing and dance man tradition, where you have to be an excellent dancer, an excellent singer, and also an excellent actor. So I think people on Broadway are much broader in their kind of skills.
Okay.
And there's a lot more. What is it? That it's the team. It's the community of being an actor and an actress on Broadway, which feels stronger than it does in the West End. They kind of support each other. They're really happy for people when they get to go on, and they're very. But there's also, yeah, I mean, it's a professionalism that sometimes can feel a little bit cold.
Okay.
Whereas in the West End, you go, "Oh, hello, mate. How are you? I'm fine, yeah." And
right.
When on Broadway, it's like, "How are you?" I am fantastic, thank you very much. I feel excellent. And how are you?
Yeah,
And you don't
but
feel
I
excellent
suppose
all the
that's
time.
right. But I suppose that's also what you just said, like the different cultures between
Yes, yes. But I mean,
Americans and Brits in general, probably.
yeah. But I think the core is we're the same people because
Right,
we're actors and
right,
performers and creatives, you know.
right,
And
right.
also it's the sarcasm and the cynicism. It's fantastic, the humor in among the cast and stuff is I had a fantastic time. I think that was
Do you
absolutely
have any like fun stories from like we all do
yes,
because you know when you play shows and you've played way more shows than I have, you know stuff happens. So do you
yes.
have any like top stories that you would like to share where things have gone utterly wrong? Like, okay, I will start sharing because this
Okay.
is horrible. Phantom of the Opera, Christine, you're singing Think of Me, and you have
Yeah.
this big transition from the ballet girl to
Mm-hmm.
the premiere night. In the
Mm-hmm.
original production, which I did, she's
Mm.
changing on stage from this like little rope skirt to this
Mm-hmm.
big sort of diva skirt. And you have, I don't know if it's 8 bars to do it,
Mm.
and a bunch of people who are helping you.
Mm.
In this particular show, though, for some reason, they didn't get the big skirt on,
Mm-hmm.
meaning, I mean, normally they would stay and put it on even if the lights go up and you have to keep
Yeah.
singing. That was the plan. But
Yeah.
for some reason, these people decided to leave the stage with the skirt.
Yeah.
And the rope skirt was also gone. So I had to do like the whole end of Think of Me in like just
Underwear.
yeah, pink ballet tights and like green velvet underwear. It was like the worst moment of my life is
Sounds
what it felt
fantastic.
like. And our conductor, he couldn't look at me. Like he was like laughing and trying to conduct.
Yeah.
My colleagues are standing out in the wings going like,
Yeah.
and you know you have to like the show must go on, and
Yeah.
the follow spot person was trying to make the spot as small as possible on just my face.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it was a total disaster and so
Yeah.
horrible. But that's one of my top horrible things.
Embarrassing thing that
Yeah,
things that happen on
so
stage.
tell me something.
So I'll tell you something. There was a great moment actually, which was very funny as well. In when I did Les Mis in Denmark,
Mm.
it was a slightly different production than from the original one.
Uh-huh.
So I played Javert, the police constable who was chasing Jean Valjean, and this happens just after. It's called the confrontation. It's a scene
Mhm.
where he walks into the room where Fantine just has died,
All right.
and he comes in to arrest him. And there's this long kind of duet, and then they end up fighting.
Mm.
So normally in the original show, Jean Valjean smashes up a side table and gets a stick from it, and because Javert has his truncheon, his police stick, and they start a fight. Jean Valjean beats him up and then runs away. In this version, I was supposed to come. I came in with a big chain, so very symbolically trying to chain him up and bring him back to prison. And what Jean Valjean was meant to do, because it was so strong, which has been shown earlier in the show, he rips up a floorboard.
Oh.
And with that floorboard, he beats me. I kind of swing my chain. The chain goes around the floorboard. He rips the chain out my hands, punches me, and then leaves the stage, right? So because this was a tour around Denmark, we did 3 different cities, and when we came to one of the cities, there was a different kind of stage crew because it was a different theater. So before this performance, the stage manager, or whoever was in charge of checking that everything was all right, the props, he must have walked across the stage and seen this plank, which was obviously set loose so that he could rip it off from the floor. So he screwed it back into the floor. So we come to this scene and I'm swinging my chain and he's trying to pull this floorboard up and he's like, trying to do this. And then he just looks at me and he goes,
help.
Help.
Oh no.
And both of us just go, okay, are we not going to laugh?
What do we do now?
Yeah, what do we do now? Because I would clearly win if he couldn't rip that plank up from the floor. So I just threw my chain away and just went, come on, let's fight. It was
That's the worst possible option also. Like, I have a weapon, but let's just throw it.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Oh.
It was very, very, very funny.
Oh my God.
It was just...
Yeah. So have you ever done any like last show pranks on people?
Oh yeah.
Because,
yeah, absolutely. That's kind of, I think the last couple of shows.
Let's explain this to people who don't work in musical theater or theater.
Yes. Well, when the show is closing, if you've been given a closing date, usually on the last matinee, you do a prank or the very, very last show. But normally you want the very, very last show to be a fantastic show. So on the matinee, you're kind of allowed to do stuff as long as it doesn't disrupt the show or the audience would notice it in any shape or form. It's only for internally, and some people go way beyond what is
allowed.
What is allowed, yes.
So what did you do?
Usually it kind of involves someone being in the orchestra pit that the audience can't see, but you can see them doing some silly things or dressed up in silly outfits. It's just very strange. I actually tried to pull a prank on Glenn when we were
really?
at Sunset, but she didn't notice it, and I was most annoyed. No, because when we get into the car and drive away, right? No, I come in sitting in the car. She gets into the car with Joe Gillis, and then we drive off. So I'm seated in the car all the time.
Yeah.
So I thought, and there's no back on the seats.
Okay.
Because of technical kind of for some reason there was no backs on the seat. So I thought, wouldn't it be fun if I pulled down my pants and showed her my ass?
What?
But just I had obviously my driver's outfit on, but you know, I pulled down my pants ever so gently and sat on the seat, hoping that when she sat in the car, both her and Joe would notice this and start laughing. But my jacket was a little bit too long, so it covered my ass, so they couldn't see it.
Oh no!
But anyway, there's been other pranks. I know some pranks that I didn't do when we did Jesus Christ Superstar, which was hysterical. There's a scene in Jesus Christ Superstar where Jesus gets crowded by the lepers. He has a bad dream, and the whole cast is dressed up as lepers in rags and stuff, and tries to they climb on top of him, and then they lift him up slightly. They did in this West End version. So someone thought of the brilliant idea to paint Jesus's toenails pink.
But okay, but he when doing that or before?
Yes, because he's wearing sandals, right? So and they're all singing, "Well, no, will you heal me, Christ?"
Yeah,
and they lift him up, and then someone with their back to the audience pulled up some nail varnish and started painting his toenails. But he could smell this Jesus, so he kind of tried to pull his feet away. But for the rest of the show, he had some pink toenails, which I thought
for the last show of Bridges of Madison County, I changed the whiskey bottle that Robert has to drink from to a real one.
Oh,
that was fun.
Yeah,
like
I can imagine.
Because the thing is that he has to take like a whole like shot of whiskey when he opens that bottle.
Yeah.
And the look on his face when he realized that I had brought a real whiskey bottle and that he had to go through with it. That was amazing. It was amazing.
Did he get a really husky voice after that?
No, but the show was fun. You know, Francesca has to take like a little sip of it as well, but I mean, not like he had to be, you know, like the man's man and take the whole thing.
Yeah.
So because obviously we had like a whiskey bottle and normally it was apple juice in it.
Yeah.
And he just had to pretend to open it because it was supposed to be like a new bottle that she just finds in a cupboard. And but yeah, this was a real one. And you know, when I gave it to him and he's like, shit, it hasn't been opened yet, and he starts opening and I'm like, it was funny.
That.
Yeah, it was great.
Brilliant prank.
So anyway, people, that's what happens on stage.
Yes.
A lot of things happen that you have no idea about.
Or no control over.
As well. Costume mishaps. I mean,
yes.
In Phantom.
Hands ripping.
Yeah. I thought I broke my finger once in Phantom. No. Yeah, because he, in the point of no return scene, when Christine is, when she realizes that it is the Phantom and tries to run away and he grabs her and pulls her back, for some reason we got like, there was something in the momentum, so he like swung me around and I ended up, you know, with my hand like right into his chest, and I could hear like crack. I was like, ow.
Oh, it's scary that.
Yeah, and I could see on the face of my poor Phantom as well. He was like, holy shit, you know, like she broke her, something happened. And thank God it's a very emotional scene. So he sings his thing, holding her, and tears are just streaming down my face because I'm in such pain. And everyone's like, you were on fire today with your acting. I'm like,
yeah.
And I had to play. I had to play the rest of the show. There's at least another 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, with that hand. And after the show, I went and had it X-rayed. It was not broken, but I had to play for like 5-6 weeks with my fingers taped like this.
Taped like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was. So things happen.
Yeah, no, I know. Injuries are scary. We had a moment because I played the Phantom in Gothenburg.
I know.
At the Gothenburg Opera House, and when she's just singing her song by the grave.
Yeah, wishing.
After that, there's obviously a bit of a confrontation between the Phantom and Raoul.
Yeah.
And in the Gothenburg Opera House, we were fencing.
Oh.
And I almost took John Martin Bengtsson, who played a fantastic Raoul, I almost took his eye out.
Oh no!
This was during the previews. Oh God! It's very, very scary.
Yeah, it is scary.
Fortunately, there was a doctor in the audience who came and had a look at it, but it literally my sword just grazed him across.
Oh God! Yeah.
So,
well, he's still alive, and we're going to work in another production, hopefully, whenever we get to play again.
Yes,
so
exactly,
yeah, he's amazing. So
yeah.
So I was wondering if, you know, to start wrapping this up now. I mean, I could talk to you for hours because I still have like a billion questions, but maybe we can do round two.
Yes.
we can do round two later.
To be continued.
To be continued. I usually ask if there's like any advice or you know, words on the way for younger performers that might just, you know, be coming out of school or have just sort of started their careers. Anything that you would like to pass on to them?
I think we might have touched base on that a little bit earlier on. Is to always go into a new project with the intention of being your absolute best. And regardless of what it is, not to have any kind of, I guess, preconceived ideas on what you think it's going to be, or working with that person that you know, it just go in with an open mind. And also, you know, the classic saying, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. You need to know your stuff. You need to work on it as hard as you possibly can in terms of learning the stuff, learning the script. I always find that, you know, if you know everything before you go into rehearsals, you can then much quicker take in directions from the director, get comfortable in a scene with other people, focus on that bit instead of trying to remember your lines or what melody you need to sing at a certain place. I guess it's also practice. You might think you've practiced enough, but you can never practice enough.
True.
It's one of those things. I mean, even now during, you know, since COVID and lockdown, I still try to practice every other day, sing through, do a good vocal warm-up, sing through 5-10 songs of the, you know, from musicals that I've played before, just to keep them in there, keep them in my voice.
Yeah. Do you have any projects right now, like, meaning, were you in a production when COVID happened, so that there is something, you know, that...
Yeah, well, I was in Beauty and the Beast at the Malmö Opera House.
Oh, right.
Which was then cut short. We couldn't do the last 10 shows, basically.
Yeah.
Which was a shame, and unfortunately...
I know, because I had a ticket to come and see you.
Well, there you go.
So...
So that was a shame. That was very sad. We never got to know that was our last performance. And
right. So no pranks that day.
No, we would have loved to play, obviously, to the end, and we were hoping maybe we could do it, you know, later on. But the Opera House has planned their shows very far in advance, so there's no flexibility really. And then, of course, I was going to do the concerts with you in July and stuff. So. Now there's not much on the horizon because nobody knows when they can open the theaters again.
Right.
Doing lots of auditions and stuff like that, but nobody can give any response because they don't know when the show is going to open.
Right.
So instead, I'm spending a lot of time here in my recording studio. Intend to finish recording a musical theatre album.
Oh, yay!
Which would be good, which I've never, for some reason, never recorded.
Well,
I've never done a musical theatre album, and I thought this might be a good time to do it.
Yeah. Let me know if you need a duet partner.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes, of course. Now, I'll probably need a lot of... I'm going to put in quite a lot of songs in there, so hopefully some duets as well.
Yeah. No, but that sounds really exciting, and I mean that's kind of what you can devote your time to now.
Yeah, there's not much else, you know, because my whole career has been very stage focused.
Right.
So now obviously it's a time to reflect on that and also try to branch out maybe to more TV and film, which is a completely different technique to what you do when you're on stage.
Yeah. Well, I, for one, am really, really excited for, you know, a musical theater album with Fred Johanson. And I will put all, like, you're not very visible on social media.
I know, I'm trying to work on this.
It's horrible. I'll help you. But
yes, that will be nice. I need all the help I can get.
Like links for the stuff that does exist. You know, in the description of this video, so you can go and find as much as possible about Fred Johanson and his incredible career. And maybe we can do a part 2 of this interview, because I feel like I still have like 5-10 shows we haven't even touched on. But I was so excited about Sunset Boulevard, so we had to stay there for a while.
That's, as I said, there's still a lot of things we can talk about regarding that one, because it's a very special show in that sense.
Well, thank you so much for being part of TOCCA Talks.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and I'm so looking forward to this summer as well to work with you.
Well, yes, if we can play this summer. Otherwise, it will be the summer after that, or whenever. But we will work together at some point.
Yes, at some point we will definitely do that.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. You take care.